Hello, everybody, and welcome to our second episode of Line of Duty reviews.
Yeah,
So,
hello everyone, it's me Scott. It's Avros and obviously inshallah back again for the second episode to review the said. So anyway, how are you tonight?
good. We had one weather system today, which is nice, considering I didn't go from three different ones.
Yeah, okay. And you still be happy to know that the sun it's not but
Yeah, we're not going to get
actually
Blade
not
Runner
last
vision
week.
anymore. Oh, people
Yeah.
might be disappointed. It was quite a visual sight the last couple of streams you were on.
Yeah, there's almost like Bill either and also to start us off where your general what's episode two because obviously you've probably you've seen it a thousand more times than what I have over the past few years. So give me your general thoughts before we get into a bit more and before we get into a bit more scripted detail, and I'll just say hello to
Hi,
Sadako
Sadako.
and before who has been as a Angela watching which is
It
also
gets you, Sadako,
lovely
doesn't
to
it? It
see.
gets you.
Yeah. So so anyway, what were your general thoughts to start off with? I think then, Charlotte.
Yeah, I think what takes sort of I think the first episode was settling in the characters, sort of introducing you to them. And what I quite like about the second episode is it doesn't give
Yeah,
you any like it doesn't wait about. It doesn't give you much room to breathe. It's almost like it's saying, right, we've done the first episode, now we're going to full throttle. And
yeah,
it really you just feel like you've gone from like 10 to 100 miles per hour, but it does it not in a really good way. It's not like a real shock in that sense. You sort of just realize, okay, now we're getting the threat level goes up a lot, and what
yeah,
happens, especially that ending, I think that's almost like a
yeah,
that's like them showing their intent for this show. I've got a feeling of we're gonna get you by the throat. So it's a good, and you're doing that in your second episode, so it really doesn't wait about, which is what I quite like.
yeah, yeah, and my good friend Matthew Pounder
Oh, hi,
has
Matthew.
jumped into
Good to
the
see you in the
chat.
chat, mate.
Yeah, so to start us off, if you get a bit of a all back to sort of to the first episode because like Gates' two henchmen um as I call them basically said, oh there's still a ordinary driver. What's it meaning Eve? So like so it's out the car and we've been told by the rhythm that we've been instructed to to sort of escort him into the building.
Yeah, and it's very much from the get go. It puts Steve against them, which is fun for the other interactions later on in the series as well.
Yep, yeah,
And like I said, this
exactly.
is what I like about Steve. It sort of puts him again. He's the underdog. He's always sort of behind or a little bit sort of having to prove himself. I think that's a real big theme for his character as a whole, actually, in series one.
Yeah. So then we jump. So then we jump to it's actually and and it's actually given his my buddy Ethan and I know that like it's this other than that scene that you pick up on is he's the guy who again and and the guy that gets discussed in the very first episode who's part of the drug and like so then it's an interviews him and like them also because there was a bit that I did find amusing about that because he comes up with excuses or I was just buying some DVDs
Oh
and
yeah.
like and I can it said I'd be very surprised. I'd be very surprised if you remember and tools and he mentions various tools, so that gave me a bit of a cool.
Oh
So
yeah, plus you've also
yeah,
got the lawyer being like, "Oh, your DVDs." It's very obvious that his lawyer's like, "Yeah, I know my client's a dodgy person, but I need to keep reminding him that that's the story we're going with right now."
yeah. So he kind of gets strained about the two guys that were sort of top an episode two. And the guys you see in the house that had the hands and slivered off by the drug and although I'll come to something similar a bit later on in the review. So East Boy what alert for later on. So yeah, so yeah, he gets strength and and he's asked to identify those who get eyes and he gets asked and again it's asked how the drugs were contained and like the anyway so and because he's a bit resistant and and to become a police informant because even he's a lawyer says absolutely not. He's not a police informant. So the any kind of continue was that so then it kind of continues of you and then that's how you know that the drugs are contained in the items act. So they so basically it's up as forgot what I was going to say there. Did I
Yeah,
something?
no, it's all right. Wen's in the chat. Hello, Wen.
Yeah,
She's just popped into. Hi, love.
yeah. Basically so basically so basically Steve has someone I Steve does someone on again on Steve does some again on eights and
Yeah,
I
because
yeah
Hastings, like in the first episode, Steve is almost, I would say, probably on Gates' side. He's sort of, he could just be a really good cop, you're sort of chasing shadows here.
yeah
And Hastings sort of, we said, does that thing of, oh, he was the one behind putting that in your car. And then he also tells Steve to basically look at the laddering, and that's what Steve then starts to dig into. And I
yeah
think Steve is very much in this episode. He still is at the beginning pretty much from Gates' side,
yeah.
in relatively,
But
but
by episode two, we kinda sees the
by the end,
for
yes,
the
he has
better.
to investigate, and
Um,
that's what a lot of he does this episode. It's him just sort of digging down, isn't it, and actually saying, no, if there's something to this, I need to see the proof.
yeah, and Yeah, so like any kind of so any kind of goes back to the cafe and like sort of students to the stress that you meet in the after episode and like you get introduced to one of these character that was
It's a pretty
basically at
big
the same
one.
time.
Pretty big one
Yeah,
with Steve.
yeah. Um, um, yeah, and so like you basically like yeah, do you know do you know anything about the it's the end of the relationship or like Ozzy like with the two of them see each other or not basically. And so that and so right off the bat, you can start to see him starting to put the jigsaw and together for himself as well.
Yeah, and I think Lavity definitely in this episode, it's pretty much, it's not fully spelt out, but sort of the feelings you might have had of her being a bit dodgy in the first episode, you fully sort of go, yeah, she's dodgy. And it's
Or,
sort of
or
the
G,
bad influence that she's
yeah,
bringing to Gates.
yeah, and and Je- and Jesus Christ for that feeling, being orgies kind of turned up to turned up to thousand and so yeah and so yeah and so Kate actually has um he asked to talk out the poor bill. What could it's been hassled out of making these compel. He's basically because he's basically he said that often's been that often's been on basically about the about about the gang kids and wasn't her. So she kinda says like like I'd rather you not um I'd I'd rather you not pursue this because it's forever in the amount of paperwork that they have to fill in and it's actually he says um I'll put this bu- I'll put this but walking high priority on high priority calls again and if it calls again so it's already and so it's already sort of starting to be these sort of silly easy to on sweetness.
No, see, I wouldn't say it's sleazy. Honestly, I think it's just showing this is why he has such loyalty with,
And
as you say, the cronies. Because it's
yeah,
that thing of if you're in his club, if you're part of his gang, he
yeah,
protects you. He gives you
yeah,
nice things. It's sort of that sign of him because Kate is sort of one of the lads almost. Like that's the way it's sort of done, and I think it's them showing. It's sort of like cause you question, don't you? Like why does he have this sort of gaggle of these officers who will pretty much do anything for him, especially Morton. Oh, what's his name's character? Like I said, I'm terrible with
oh
names.
yeah, Orton Detective Inspector
Yeah, and
Orton
like you
Nigel Martin.
saw, you sort of he's incredibly loyal to Gates, and I
Yeah,
think seeing what he offered to Kate in that instance is the writer saying this is how he gets loyalty.
yeah, Uh, and yeah, so the best is we are back at the stations. You've kind of leads over some more of the eastern what's basically in the like adds to Jack his little background and stuff like that to build up and to build up a better picture of what's happening and then um and in the next scene we come up we come a kiddo also okay for two of the officers have been called to investigate a kind of Amsterdam activity hotspots on I think all written and it's basically been central to a lot of and to a lot of designs such as archi- oh and Gerald aim and all that. But you find out, you find out later on in the episode that it's all connected back to Ava, um, Ava, because what her job is, she'd be basically a property developer, and like all those and all those kind of aims that the killer are sort of commits, and that and that he can it's all are all policies with a property right to have which I felt with his kid like a kill other sort of arches detail and as details like that then makes the writing and come together and makes it kill like interesting but with like there's a um, there's a couple of only bits in it as well that they know nothing that's kids also like kids like I'm in the sort of new guy it's a sort of the kid his emotion the
He's very
chemistry
eager. He's a bit
uh
too eager. That's the feeling you get from him.
yeah and he y- and he doesn't even assess the complex um complex at all it's, and so so the guy that on owns the that's his there was need to jump off the balcony in the actual way in the actual way or says in the actual way does is
Her
and
reaction, though, is hilarious.
yeah yeah and she says oh well that's so many and that's too many to throw in and you'll just and you'll just like and you'll just like lazy but she's well so
I think she's a good example, though, of
yeah
just being in a job, I think, for
yeah
too long, or just being too jaded in a job that literally a fella's like thrown himself off a balcony, and your first response is, "Oh, my paperwork." I mean, that's like her character throughout the whole of this series. She's just sort of there, I think, to show just being in a job maybe and being in maybe front line police where you have to deal with a lot of the low level crimes just sort of makes you numb to a lot of things.
yeah. Um, so yeah, and yeah, so that guy gets interviewed at the hospital, and I have to go over the scene because I was a bit in the middle because well, it basically he said to the it basically said to to the detective sergeant Johnson, to tell him on prisoner get beheaded on book this week, so that kind of made me chuck, and so that kind of made me chuck.
Yeah, but it's also the way he just does it. Like the because this is also the woman who Kate like nicked the promotion from.
Yeah.
So you don't really like her anyway, but she's sort of sat there and she's naming off all these properties, and he's just like, yeah, I think I did
Yeah,
that one. Yeah, I think I did that one. And it's just
yeah, did
what
that.
I say
Yeah,
from both of them. It's quite funny, just the ridiculousness of it.
yeah. Yeah, and yes, that was, and yes, I think that was quite funny. So, like, and so, and so, and so, and so then other, um, falls into the station to the devil, and to the devil. He, he speak is, and, and because I think it realizes that it's only hit the function, I, I mean, she's just made it 10 and, and 10 from us. So, like, you basically live and Federica up to four things about the case and any hands are in what's saying, I know you a bit a funny ish and basic
Oh
and
yeah,
basic
because I'm trying to
yeah,
because he knows at this point that the person at first she was like, oh, I think I hit an animal, and
yeah,
then it's a person, which he's just like, God, that's bad enough if you've hit somebody,
yeah,
and then it turns out that it's her accountant. So it's just like you've lied for your back teeth to me,
yeah,
and his presense is just shouting at him. I think right now of there's something more to her hitting this guy that it just
yeah,
happened to be the accountant. It's like so. I just think some of those old police instincts and because here's the thing, he is a good police officer, like in regards to skill. Like you never
yeah,
doubt Tony's skill. So he's probably been on the force for so long, and his skill is just screaming at him, just get rid of her.
yeah,
She's just going to cause you more issues.
yeah. Yeah, but because you've seen over the course of the episode, he tried to get rid of her a couple of times, but like my God, odd, and but my God, to see was how to use them to the things, but we'll talk a bit about that a bit with a bit later on as well because because any of this way you get and so any of this you, you get a confrontation between even even some and it's himself because about the post was up in them all and he can it's actually is this either get you, and I could get you on a harassment charge, and then he says I could do the same for you. Um, and sort of right away, you can kind of tell that the rivalry's starting to like fire up between the two of them as well.
Yeah, and I think it's the fact that Steve looked like he was on Gates' side, and
Yeah,
now Gates, which I think is sort of understandable to be honest from Gates' perspective. Steve, 1 minute is I'm not I'm working with Hastings, but I'm really on your side, and now he's giving him lip. Now he's showing that cockiness to Gates, and
yeah,
I think Sudoku said it in the chat. I love that line when Gates says, "If you're gonna kill, if Sudoku said it about the king." It's a brilliant line.
yeah,
Yeah, if you take a shot at the king, make sure you kill him. So
yeah,
I think that's a brilliant little just insight to Gates and how he views Steve of just he's this little like annoyance that isn't strong enough to kill him, and he's just this little fly almost buzzing around his head, and he just wants him gone.
yeah, and yeah, and basically as well, and basically those even goes to the goes to the on basically and like this out on this part and as part of his empire so it's so like yeah and so he asks them and job for so he asks the manager for or the um or the together option and he asked them and job for the together option over so that it can all eat or on an actually um an actually one kill. Este another the role source in an episode to the guy that the guy that keeps over and about the kids the kids up for getting shut out out the kid to the water.
And you forgot it's not just a kid, it's Ryan.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sorry to, I'm so, I am sorry to say this, but to any parent watching the kid as a bit of as a bit of like it's
No,
beyond yes,
he's a cocky council kid, and I'm saying that very
yeah,
much in the sense of
yeah,
he's from those sort of areas that we've all come across a version of that sort of kid.
yeah. And and what you find is no progress for the series is that he has a much bigger role in the series because like um but but because this is the part of the episode where he hands him um when he hands him is so he's the guy that was interviewed at the start of the episode to the on and it's only the guy that's ahead of the jobs guy um and he's and he's like that Tim is if you don't give if you don't hand over your school off to the kid, he will go the same way as the other guys basically. So yeah,
Yeah, and it's just another like it's quite impressive with Tommy. Like, this is somebody you've not seen, and you've only had like little snippets, and you'll find this the more he gets involved in the first series.
Yeah.
I don't know the actor for him, but he's really good because it's literally just a voice, and it's just on a phone, and you sort of instantly get this vibe of he
I
probably
think
runs this estate or this council estate, and
Uh,
it's like you don't cross him.
Is it the guy I told you about? The like Finnish guy came from
No, I don't know the actor's name, but
yeah.
he's considering it's just literally a phone call at this point, and you
Yeah.
instantly get that vibe of God, I wouldn't want to cross him or get on the wrong side of this fella.
Yeah. Yeah. So um so yeah, two on after that, it's actually finds out that it's actually it finds out the full extent to what Jack has been up to, and there's a confrontation between the two when the actual yeah is awful like mama and so what of the is a girl if the brick cause he's finally job that is connected to the arts of an account and but it or some shitty basic girl and she basic girl um amount and to the beside basic girl and over them because he get um because he had found out about and he found out about the whole sort of indie basic girl.
Yeah, he knew too much,
Yeah. So
and
yeah,
but it does show. Compare Gates in episode 1
mhm,
to how he's acting at this point. It's
yeah,
I think it's quite, and Lenny James plays it brilliantly. You
yeah,
just sort of see the cracks now, and he's fully starting to go into panic mode. That he's willing to arrest her then, just to protect his own backside.
yeah, because yeah, yeah, because of himself. You know, in the episode, when it shows you a bit more of the family, he's often kind of finds it out a bit, I'm a bit um, a bit cool. However, because basically, his basically, again, it's like, oh shit, he's getting, and so he's getting that, all that skill, like, use basically, and Jack, he says that, I'm in the car, up, of kids, and include musical association appeal with them again and so make sure and so it can it's some more basic
Yeah,
you
because
know
she's
go basic one
like it's gone from she's my bit on the side, she's my sort of release for that, to
yeah
God, she's got herself involved in very dangerous people,
yeah
and but she's always going to have that hold over
yeah
him because she. So I've just thought, I don't know that it's revealed yet, but she's got a hold on him in a number of ways, and but that humanizes Gates though, I think, a lot, and that's what this show does very well with the sort of quote unquote baddies or bent cops or whatever term you want to use. It remembers that they're human, so they've got these good bits, or they've got these sort of reasons behind acting certain ways. And I think with Gates, it's fairly clear at this point. Maybe everything he does is to provide for his girls. Because of his upbringing and how his father treated him, and it's sort of this thing of, I'm not going to be like my dad. I'm going to provide what. So it's like but it's not just provide for the kids. It's like spoil them almost. And she knows that, Jackie, because she is a very manipulative person, and she knows that that's his weakness. That's his Achilles heel that she'll always have. So she knows exactly what she's doing when she's like, "Oh, well, what are we girls going to think of their dad?" Which is interesting because she doesn't use the fact of an affair getting out. That isn't what scares him. It's his girls.
And you get a bit, and also, and also, and that seems, like she mentions that, she mentions Eve had killed, and others were also kind, and so, and so, and so it kind of knows that the game's almost. And so
Well,
kind of knows that the game's almost up.
He knows Steve has got the scent at this point, and he can't just bat him away. I think a little bit as well.
So I've kind of get a question to answer. So I shall. It's the expert. I'll turn this over.
I don't know, but I know I have heard like people, obviously, because when a show gets big like this, you get like actual police then getting like asked, oh, how realistic is it, or how close to it is it? And I've heard of quite a few people who even have also got either friends who were like anti-corruption, who have even worked in anti-corruption, and what the majority of them do say, obviously, it's drama, it's a very exaggerated version of it. But a few of them actually have said it gets one thing quite good in this show, and that is, in order to be anti-corruption, you can't be pure as white. You have to be able to be just as murky as the people you're trying to catch, is the sort of phrases I've heard, and a lot of them have said Line of Duty does that quite well. But it's going to be drama at the end of the day. It's going to be a very like, they're going to amp stuff up. They're going to make things more dramatic than they actually are in real life.
And it's also the European series that so it's also the European episode. Sorry, that the opening I get into the opening as well, because Jeremy, remember the conversation he has with Hastings?
Oh yeah, it's when he walks into the office and everybody's looking at him. But I think that works in Hastings' favour though, because it's just fires Steve up, and I think by this point Hastings is getting a good read on Steve, and he's sort of getting that you need to give him a fire, you need to almost like give him like a kick up the backside and then watch him go, and that's how you deal with Steve quite well, as to try and be his boss. And also it's a nice little thing that's just hanging over Steve's head. I think it's just in the background.
Because you kinda almost about that, about and then Quebec or Sheridan and because you've seen that conversation that kind of rejogs your memory. Yeah, but and so sooner or later, he's gonna have to rest it. Um, rest it. If I am kidding, I remember. I'll be interesting to see if ends up that's been brought up and
Hi, Joker. Sorry, hi, Enigmatic Joker popped in the chat.
yeah, how when it market go
Yeah, and
how are you?
that's another thing
Yeah,
that I quite like about the characters, and this goes for Kate as well. It's like they sometimes in drama it feels like characters will only deal with the storyline that's most would like current and like that they're currently involved with. But with these characters, there's little things going on around them
yeah,
that sort of either get or who like it either feeds into the current arc. I don't say arc because it's not really an arc show, but like with
yeah,
Steve, you've got the
yeah,
Gates thing, but you've
yeah,
got that inquiry, and that sort of pops its head up and feeds into his actions. I think so. It's like having
yeah,
multiple motivations almost, or multiple things going on around one character, which helps this
yeah,
show a lot. I think.
yeah. Uh, and yeah, I know, I know, eventually big, and eventually because of this, and the point is so he and 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 if he loses to hand over this, or basic, he basically wins. She's um, eyes and it's his and us and if it gets his and also if um off as well when he basically gets off to and I have to say and you see his um and you see his odd he's sort of hanging from the poster like Jesus. Yeah, Jesus Christ, wasn't, wasn't prepared for
That's what I
that.
mean. I think this second episode is an episode of intent. It's sort
Yeah,
of saying, don't don't think everybody's going to be safe. Don't
yeah,
think that characters are. It's it's sort of it's nice though because a lot in drama, sort of things happen and there's not a lot of consequence. I think with this show, it does very well with having consequences for characters' actions, and if that means that they get killed or something not very nice happens to them, that's just what happens. It doesn't really sugarcoat anything.
see, I'm, see, I kind of knew maybe was going to, see, I kind of knew maybe was going to get off, but it was a, I actually happened to the MS kind of a show. Okay, and in a sense, it's not the actual, it's not the actual F itself that shocked
Yeah,
me. It's,
it's the blatant nature of it, isn't it? And
uh,
he's literally almost put up like a trophy to show, and I
yeah,
think that's what the because it's the organized crime, so it's the OG
yeah,
that are behind it, and I think that is also the writers purposely picking such a blatant thing to
yeah,
sort of say this is how much power this group has, and this is
yeah,
how cocky and sure of themselves the group are as well that they can just blatantly do that.
yeah. Yeah, and also, I, and also, get some she's in old activists in it came and it und and it was Eve so they say I think or another guy I can't remember his name. His name always escapes me, but anyway I think
What Dot? He's the other henchman.
yeah. Yeah, so like she basically says I think he was sort of referring for him Iran he he um again and she says you just take it around to you just take it around to Jackie's Bowl. Alright, so yeah, so yeah, and the episode ends
Your
with the
reaction when you sent me the message, I was like, oh, Daniel's watched the end of the second episode.
yeah, yeah, and the John Dog gang kind of on
Oh, to be fair, before that, and I think this is
yeah,
important, Gates was like, oh, I'm done with you, Jackie. Like, I don't want anything to do with you. And she basically,
yeah,
he finally answers her messages, doesn't he? Doesn't she?
yeah,
Doesn't he? Sorry. And she basically lures him in the house, sort of uses her appeal and sort of
yeah,
their history to basically get him back on side.
yeah,
And then after they've done what consenting adults do, let's put it that way, so we don't get in trouble.
yeah,
That's when what happens next happens.
yeah. And so the Chinook came to Oman and they basically just saw and maybe basically just saw it off but she owned the and she owned the boat. What I see I it's basically when I come wasn't prepared for I together after that scene. Also, I think that's the most get I've seen it at that point on that much. Okay, really the first time you seen it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Because like you've sort of seen signs, like we said with the drug dealer, and the way the sort of the other drug dealers were found, but it was a bit of, oh, you these people always get bad endings in these shows,
yeah,
and it was, I think though I can remember just how quick it happened.
yeah,
That's what got me. I was just like, oh, okay, so she's got Tony back under her little thumb, and she's probably gonna just carry on being a nuisance.
yeah,
And it's just like, oh, okay,
yeah,
oh, okay. And then I think that sort of prepared me a bit for the rest of the series, but it didn't. Because I don't know if it's anything else, because I know you're only up to so many episodes.
yeah,
But yeah, it's a real sort of, okay, I don't know what I'm going to expect now going forward with this show after you've done that.
yeah,
But here's the thing with, and it's weird to think of it this way because now it's such a cultural thing, this show. This
yeah,
show started on BBC Two. So it's like you could tell it was a bit of we'll give it a go, we'll see what happens when they did the first series. So think about it in that context as well. It makes the ending of this episode really shocking. Just think it was on BBC Two. I don't think Jed, who's the creator and sort of the main writer,
yeah,
had like any massive hits. I think he was a well-known writer, but he wasn't like a household name.
Never had that sort of head to sort of show.
No, and like this is, and then in his second episode he does this.
Yeah.
It's sort of crazy when you think about it, because it could have drastically not worked, but I think people saw the risk and saw how shocking it was, and that's what kept, especially for that first series, I think a lot of people watching.
I mean, and then just kind of what the answer to the was common. Exactly. Summer and summer basically have you said that I was getting I think but my cousin as well because I make sure that she's and up on and I feel also getting your home in the at home is shut the one and it kind of put it also better than the next episode because usually we and shut out.
Yeah, no, and that's the irony that he wasn't really bent. He was just a sleazeball, and he just was cocky and sort of knew how to work the system to his advantage. But as soon as his prints are on that knife, he's become bent, and that's the cleverness of it. It's you could argue it's not. It's not that you don't argue. It's not. It's purely the organized crime, the OG, that make him that. And they know on purpose, and that's why I think the violence does work in another sense, because it's not just done for shock value. It could so easily be like nowadays, especially. I feel like a lot of TV after like Game of Thrones and Line of Duty and some other things, everybody wants to have these shocks. Everybody wants to have the big oh my god moments, so people talk about it on like Twitter or something. But if you want to do violence, if you want to do these shocking things, it has to serve the story. And this does serve the story because it puts Gates in an incredibly dangerous position and a clearly weakened position after this, which runs throughout the rest of the series. And it's all the fallout from this one event.
Yeah. And I know, but did I recommend that you follow Ashley's advice?
Hi, Chris, anyway.
What you're hearing and how to the king of the and she says, he killed you over here. I hope you've had a great day. So, yeah, I mean, in so I just I forgot this and so I just out of the episodes of them so far you can kinda that he's kinda on from the sort of so easy sort of officer and to just like I this and it's basically and a billion space of about episodes, but it's a sort of either that sort of takes place within the episodes.
Yeah, and it's sort of it's a domino thing, isn't it? Of one thing happens and that impacts that, and then that makes that worse, and that snowballs, and I think it's quite well planned that you can see how his worser traits also have got him to this position. Like if he would have just, because that's the thing, if he would have just kept ignoring Jackie, if he would have done what he actually said, is he wouldn't have been in this position.
Well, technically, I think he would have and would have been found out by the law.
Yeah, but in comparison stakes, laddering.
Yeah.
But that's the funny thing. That's what convinces Steve.
Yeah.
Because Steve doesn't know any. Like he knows Laverty's got some dodgy dealings.
Yeah.
But it's not really that convinces him. It's when he sees all the cases and the laddering and the stacking.
Yeah.
But that then puts him on the scent, and then he starts to get deeper and see more of what Gates has got himself involved in.
Yeah, but I know. But I know. I'm still the series. Arcs. Off you get you get a scene where what's the is quick. Oh man, yeah, says I'm not ordered about anymore, and Simon's like, and Simon and Simon's like that, it's like how and she says there's I asked her and yeah, there's a sex page tip so and again she's and so and so and again she kind of takes them on easy sort of
Yeah, and I think also it's, and I'll be interested some of our American commentators. I think this show is very British with the sense of humour.
Yeah.
It's that sort of matter of fact, sarky, sort of dark at times humour. It's like when the body's found of the drug dealer, you just see all the estate like treating it like it's a night out because they're all out, they're all filming it, and it's just and the police have to tell them to go, and they're like, no, this is way more exciting than a normal night, and it's just like wow.
And you just see, you can picture on a phone, and you're like, and so by that point, I'm just pissing myself laughing.
Oh, and the fun fact is also, I don't think this is a spoiler if it's the next episode, but you find out that she's Ryan's mum, and it all makes sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of them, like that, of Ocean going to turn into a bit of to be honest.
And it's just sort of, that's the fun thing, like, they're very much, especially the mum and Ryan, like you said, you see his importance with the organised, the OG, but he's still not, you can tell he's just sort of a useful kid to them. But they're not even like main characters really, but they make the effort to make you to sort of get to know them, and then once that reveal happens, you go, oh, of course, the lazy like woman that we didn't like anyway is the mum to the snotty kid that we all don't like.
Because he half punches the shoes as well.
Oh yes, you could tell. You probably thought, well, those are nice trainers. Those are mine.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's sort of, it's very much, and that's what I mean by British. I think Americans wouldn't quite understand the sort of how you would get a council estate like that. But I think if you're British, you can sort of see how these sort of places that have sort of been left behind a bit, and have sort of been sort of not given any money or help or love in any sense, sort of can make these little communities.
Yeah, And also, as well, I got to mention that um, each actually he sends one of his henchmen, the spy and Steve as well, who are on in the episode, and I'm not going to spoil what happens in the next episode, that like, cause well, you get a bit, cause that kind of get, it's a bit more expanded on as well. That scene, even this, us, seems to get expanded on, and SM was well, and don't forget we see two archers that all shows anymore. Oh,
No, and I think it's, to be fair, we haven't really
yeah,
talked about Kate a lot. And obviously, you
yeah,
had the reveal at the end of the first episode that she was with AC-12 and she was undercover. So you sort of have the interesting dynamic of her and Steve starting to properly work together.
yeah,
And they're still very much in butting heads mode. They're still trying to sort of peg each other, I think, a bit and understand how the other
yeah,
works.
and yeah, I'm gonna make a prediction by the second series that are a bit more sort of and hey, that's my prediction because they've kind of gotten used to each
I think the
and
problem is they're both quite abrasive personalities, aren't they?
yeah,
Like, Kate doesn't take any rubbish. Like, she's very upfront. And you see more of that, I think, in this episode because you sort of see her having to deal with Steve and she doesn't have to play a character, so she can just be herself. And sort of in that sense, she's a lot more straight with Steve. And if she's not happy, she will say to his face, "You're being an idiot." And like Steve is naturally quite abrasive. So you sort of have very similar, I think, personalities. And what usually happens when you get similar personalities.
yeah, 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 and it's kind of like the reverse in a sense, a kind of sort of uh, the sort of comments that we have, so it's kind of like similar. And have you not realised that kind of sounds similar? Uh, and so, I know uh, arsonist and
Well, the one of us telling the other one they're being silly and idiotic, yes,
yeah,
but saying it out of very much love, in a sense. It's like you're the best mates. I'm going to tell you that you're being an absolute idiot.
and as I've actually recommended to you probably give the first episode a go because
I
thought that
believe I believe Lee's response was he would rather take like use spoons against his eyes or something. So I don't see that happening.
but yeah, but here's the thing, I was in agreement and I was in agreement for us to of his um, um of his opinion but Charlotte kept on letting us speak, so it was a hint. So like, we'll see how
But
and
well,
so
no. Let's be
it
fair.
goes
You were
on
fed up
film.
of me either saying, "Oh, it's really good," or moaning at you about it.
Yeah,
And you saw a few of us other friends have similar sort of love hate reactions. So you probably could, I'll give the show a go.
yeah,
And then it's basically one of the few good shows the BBC has any sort of, because they don't make it, as we discovered a couple of weeks ago, but they put it on their channel, so it's one of the few
yeah.
shows that isn't full of the usual rubbish.
Oh Jesus Christ! Probably enjoy actually enjoy anything.
Well, no, The Professionals though. That's a fun show. I'll give you that.
I've not actually seen that. I might
Have
give
you
it a
not? Oh, Daniel, you have to give Professionals a go.
I might actually give that a go after we do obviously in the duty because as I said that this isn't my usual sort of genre. You know what my genre is. My genre is either comedy or sci-fi. Those are my two genres.
Yeah, and problem saying it has to be the original.
Oh, well, okay then.
Like problem. Tell me that's the one with a very young. Oh God, what's the actor called now? I'm blanking. Martin. What's
It's,
his surname?
it's,
Problem. Help me. Am I on the right version? He's a really well known actor, and he was quite young in it.
yeah, I think I type the answer in the chat because that's going to annoy, or because that's going to annoy Charlotte if you,
I'll Google it
um,
if I'm blanking. I saw some reruns of The Professionals.
oh yeah, because it's on
Yeah,
ITV4 or
that's where
something
I
like
watched
that.
it. And like I said, I googled it afterwards. I know the actor; he's really well known. So when I saw him in that, I was like, "Oh God, you were young in this."
Right,
No,
we've got
Martin something. He
yeah. There
Martin
we go.
Shaw, very young
Martin
Martin
Shaw,
Shaw
yeah.
in it. Yes, he's got curly
Right,
hair and
yeah.
everything.
Yeah, so, so, but if one he asked the chat to actually give the ratings, and before I ask you, who shall want to give you your rating, I just like to, I would just like to say, that the nominees for the MPs have been
Yes, they have.
obviously and obviously in the duty and a two of the actors from in the duty are up for up for the start terrorism. Also, yeah, and so I basically gave my vote to my to Onston because I like what I've seen so far, and I'm enjoying the also. If let's be honest, anything to anything to stop Esther, want to further or emphasize the point that this era deserves to be incinerated. So, what better way than to actually settle into over to farm one agent. I mean, I should have basically I should have basically moved or into the show and I put myself on the deal with that. But not today. Honestly, if you say yeah, and please, like, as if you and so if you enjoy the show over and what
Yeah, and because it's the show's up for best drama. I can't remember the
yeah
exact. They've got funny titles, the categories, but it's basically best
yeah
show slash
best
drama.
and it's basically the best to the returning
Yes, that's the
drama thing.
returning drama. And Martin, Vicky, who's Kate, Adrian, who's Hastings, and in series 6, she's sort of the bent copper, quotes unquote. Kelly what's her surname? McDonald? I could be wrong. So they're all up, and basically Chibnall's Who is up for best returning, and Whittaker, which is hilarious, is up for best performance. Because she's also up against, and this is another reason why I think she hasn't got a chance, she's also up against David Tennant for Des.
Yeah, and she's also up against Martin Austin, who was kind enough to show into actual of my vote and give my vote over him as L. So M&A, M's popped in,
Hi, mate.
So yeah,
and here's the thing with the NTAs. I'll just say, Daniel probably doesn't, because I do look at the online, the sort of social presence of the fan base for Line of Duty, because there's nowhere near as much drama, and it just seems to be a lot of people having fun.
Yeah,
this show,
maybe join a couple of Facebook groups or groups, a bit more of it or something, because to be honest, I'm getting sick of the you continue.
Yeah, but the Line of Duty fandom is very loyal. It's very strong, and the show is basically part, in Britain anyway, a part of the cultural talking points. Yeah. So I really don't see how the current version of Who can compete with that. And that's the other, and the latest season might not have had some of the strongest writing. And I'm not spoiling anything because Daniel's heard me say this, but all the actors were still as good as they've been for all the other series. So I'll be very surprised if one of them don't get. And like I said, the only way I can see them not winning is Tennant with Des, because that was an incredibly good performance he gave in that show.
Oh yeah, and after you get the next stuff, you can now on you hear for the rest of the night.
But that just proves that Who as a general hasn't really had a presence at the NTAs, and I'll sort of explain this to obviously people who don't who are non-English. Doctor Who sort of had its prime and could rule the NTAs during the Tennant run. It sort of started to slip during Matt, and then Capaldi, they hardly won anything. So I don't see how the current incarnation can. We'll see. We never say never, but I don't see it.
You can get and how to the you can say to me, I see that you've popped into your live chat and I hope you've enjoyed the chat that you've heard them offer. Also, guys, I don't really know if there's anything else we actually covered, because basically covered everything in a Shelby. Basically, we're going to ask the chat to, and so I'll ask the chat to give their ratings in the comments. So, what did you guys?
Oh, you want to comment on the music because you didn't last stream?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I can't find the music actually. I think the music actually fits perfect and I know that it's kind of a more incidental bit, but it's a sight better than what's ignoring all this for who, which is basically bashing using a keyboard. So it's actually and so it's actually pretty and so it's actually pretty exciting to actually have a composer that actually can compose and can compose and have you have you act for the soundtrack? It sounds Spotify.
Yeah.
Yeah, put the down and can the direction.
Yeah, no, as soon as you mention it, 'cause like you said, it's not orchestral, it's not bombastic, it's not sort of in your face type of music. So I sort of after you said it, I did listen back, and I think it does actually it's a nice mixture of
Yeah,
like sort of small beats, sort of very, but then obviously, and you'll notice this as the series goes on, the music is used for the tenser scenes, and it's sort of that's when you notice it.
yeah,
But I think that works for this type of show. It wouldn't work this type of show if you had like a Murray Gold, for example, sort of very orchestral music. It just wouldn't fit. So to
uh,
have this sort of
yeah,
lesser, almost is more approach does suit the show quite well.
yeah, so the Apple gives it a 9 out of 10. That's up. I mean, it's 8 out of 10 from last after gives it a 7, which is which is an improved score on score from last week. Really gave it a 5, so yeah, we enjoyed this episode about and this week based on his comments and all which it gives an 8 out of an 8 out of 10. So yeah, pretty so yeah, pretty so pretty decent scores in the chat. So shut up. I'll hand over to you. What would you give the episode of? So yeah, even for this episode,
I was going to say, did I give it an 8 last week?
yeah, you gave it an 8.
Uh, I'm going to keep it at an 8, which might seem crazy, but I think it gets better, which might people might go what, but I the last like the last 3 episodes,
Yeah,
it's I think those are when I'm gonna go to my to the top because I think that's those I don't I think there's more going on and it's sort of a lot more payoffs later on. So I'll keep at 8 right now.
yeah. And PJ says he'll catch up with, and PJ says he'll catch up, they are on with the,
Thank you for being here, PJ.
get on with the rest of it. Yeah, thank you for being here again.
Oh, and we have
So,
the score, Daniel, and somebody else has
I,
popped in.
yeah, so we can say gives it an 8 out of 10, but like I've seen all of 5 goals and score as well, so Iris has What again?
Let me find. Evening all, I've been watching whilst doing work. 8 out of 10.
Yeah, so, yeah, so that's a pretty good what again? And right, so, so when you say that as a Jerry and us, I actually is a surprise you, but I get the episode to the rules, and I get the I get this episode to the rules and and perfect your episode um and episode on and a bit on and to be honest this mm, yes we get some next so so asked me need and need and out of 10 because it was because it was very well and it did actually shock me yeah and it was cool yeah, I think you kind of need that for the and kind of need that for the us also yeah and and for me which is up again for my last one which I gave which I gave an 9.5 so yeah so yeah, pretty good
I didn't think you'd give
overall.
it a 10. I knew this had basically sold you this episode because he was like, "Oh, I'm really enjoying it," and then I got the thing of, "I love this show," so it's like, "Oh, okay, the second episode's done its job."
Yeah, but to be honest, then to be honest, I enjoyed the next episode even more. So yeah, nice to see you. Nice to see you back again. Thank you. Um,
And yes, it is. It's nice to talk about something we enjoy. That's
yeah,
why we wanted to do these streams.
yeah, and obviously it's nice to see the weekend side as well. Yeah, so yeah, and so yes, with in actually it says obviously sure, but there's only a few or issues that he has. But yeah, I mean, I should go through the day a few never issues, and I expect that myself. But for right now, I'm really enjoying it. And to be honest, it's a bit of a break from all laziness to what we're all used to.
And it does show there is good things out there, folks. We just have to look for them. It's not all down and depressing.
And Luigi says she it's um, as as Bill, like she says that she was it's surprised at my and surprised at my what and to be honest and to be honest if you are surprised about my squatting I enjoyed the next episode even
Oh, I'm going to say this. I cannot
even
wait
more
until you get till the end of the last couple of episodes.
yeah
I
so
you're going to be so much fun.
yeah, but I need to
Oh yeah, in a good way.
know of all I shall then it is on any episode which is a nice sort of change and Because usually there's something that kind of annoys me.
Yeah, and Dean, yes, the end. We're not going to say anything else.
Oh, see, now that you've said that, I'm dreading getting to the end. Yeah, that's going to be fun. Yeah, but I'll try and keep an open mind. But yeah, I mean, so Charlotte, I'll get you to get your shout out because it's about yeah, that time yeah, we uh, offer this to the video. So, who's I know you're appearing on.
So on Saturday, you'll see me as usual on the TARDIS zone with Classic Who, and we're doing
Yeah,
the Claws of Axos.
yeah,
Brain still trying to work, and then I sort of pop it up on other streams when no one wants me, and then so and then occasionally I'm on the Spacebook when tech and other things seem to want to bless me with dance streams, but occasionally I will appear on the Spacebook. And as he's in the chat, Mr. Hyde has very great, lovely sort of invited me on the Script Doctors. So
yeah,
that's going to be on Sunday, my sort of first appearance there.
yeah. And I mean, to be honest, today, to be honest, today, we're very intimate. And at the moment, they're kind of doing this arcade because you're on the party zone, you're on the Space Boots channel from time to time, you're on this Ox channel, you're on PJ.
Well, I'm
News.
part of a duo on Cockney.
Well, yeah, but everybody, yeah, but everybody knows that, everybody knows that you're this are the humanity. I'm just the guy that kind of gave you your and gave you your art on you. Richard, to be honest.
You basically said you weren't going to come back on YouTube if I didn't come with you.
Yes, that too.
So it was a bit of an ultimatum, wasn't it, Daniel?
Yes, but yeah, and to be honest with you, what's this worry is that actually a problem? Because I might actually check that out.
It's one you love, Daniel, with your favourite doctor.
Oh God, is it a Cohen thing? Come on then.
Yes.
Oh God.
Time Lash.
Oh Jesus.
That's why I also wanted to say on stream so you guys could see that reaction.
Yeah. Oh no, time lapse. But here's hoping. Here's hoping. Here's hoping I enjoy it better because you guys are
I think we'll
doing
make
it
it
and it's
funner.
not killing the
Plus,
killing
Sudoku's the doctor, and he'll probably make Baker somewhat likable.
yeah,
Yes, Dean. It was bribery.
yes. Yeah, and I get it. Yes. Um,
No
just
problem. You're the only one who thinks that.
oh my God.
Nobody else.
Seriously.
Daniel's going to have a breakdown now.
Seriously, after seeing that, I might have to check myself into all them. Well, up at him. I was hospital in school, but because I'm about to have a breakdown after me comment. And so yeah, I mean, I guess I'm thanks guys for and thanks thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and to leave a comment down below after the stream if you so fancy
Yeah,
it.
because Daniel might have recovered by next Tuesday when we do the next Line of Duty review.
So all the main things for me to say is again, thank you to Charlotte and thank you to everybody that joined in the chat tonight. And I'll see you next Tuesday for the best episode in the series so far. Stay safe, and I'm about to go and check myself into my
I will call if you guys see me in chat. Just ask me how Daniel's coping, and I'll tell you all.
Yeah. So see you soon.
See you soon.